Okay, everyone. Today is Monday, April 13th, and we are so happy and honored to have Karen Cryer with us today, who is a member at Osteostrong Mar Vista and also a really big advocate in the community for people living with osteoporosis and how to do movement properly. She teaches yoga for osteoporosis, as well as Qigong and mindfulness and meditation. She currently teaches a sacred movement class at Insight LA. And we are super excited to have her here doing a movement class, a yoga class with us today. So go ahead, Karen. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm really happy we were able to make this work. And what perfect timing while we're all sheltering in place at home. I know there's several people here who are in my regular Wednesday class that we've now taken online through Insight LA. And welcome to those of you who have not taken a class with me before. I'm just very grateful that you're here. And I have a few things before we start the physical practice. We did go over some props that are nice to have if you have them available. Just a standard yoga block if you have it, or even a couple of thick books handy that might help instead of a yoga block. That's just to provide extra support in some of the poses that we're going to be doing. A yoga strap, an 8-foot yoga strap is preferable, or a bathrobe tie or a belt of any kind. And if you do have a strap, if you can make it into a loop like this, about shoulder width would be great. We're going to be utilizing this a few times. And if you don't have a strap, you'll just do the poses without the prop. These are all called props. So no worries if you don't have one. You can do yours without. The props are really just variations to increase the benefit of the pose that we're doing. I also like these Mexican blankets are really beautiful to use for yoga and so versatile. They're not bulky and they fold really nicely. And these just provide nice support for your knees if we're on our hands and knees, for your spine, in lying in supine poses when you're on your back on the mat. So these are really nice. If you've got a blanket handy, that would be nice to have it around. The other thing you might have is a bolster. This is a pretty standard yoga bolster. Not necessary to have it today. In my Wednesday class, we do some restorative poses mixed in with our regular yoga, and those are really nice to have. They're a wonderful prop, especially for resting poses at the end of class. So we're going to start standing. So I'm going to back up and get behind where I am now and take all my stuff. And also, if you have a chair, these are great. This is just a little Costco folding, not Costco, but Target folding chair. These are wonderful supports for yoga. So we're going to begin with some standing poses. And it's nice to have the chair handy if you need it, if balance is an issue for you. I know the top of my head's cut off, but this is kind of the best we can do. So I hope everybody can see me okay. And can you hear me? Thumbs up if you can hear my voice. I want to just make sure my volume is up. Yes, okay. My little earpieces with the microphone don't connect to my new laptop for some reason, so the Bluetooth is not doing its thing. So I apologize. I'll speak loudly, and I hope that this is good enough for you to hear me. So we're going to start standing on our mat. If you've got socks on, I recommend you take them off so you won't slip. I have these little yoga shoes on that have little sticky things on the bottom and a little tiny bit of arch support, which are really nice. So if you have yoga socks, that's fine, or barefoot is really good. If you have issues with your feet and you need to practice in your shoes, that's fine too. So whatever works for you. This is a very individual practice. I do recommend you go at your own pace. You listen to your body. The poses we do here, I'll generally give a couple variations. And also I always talk about alignment of the body. So if your body isn't ready to go into a certain pose to the degree that we're doing it, then we back off. You go to where your body can go today. It may not be where it was 5 years ago or even yesterday or where it's going to be tomorrow, but it's where your body is today. That's what we're working with, okay? So we're going to start just standing, feet hip bone distance apart. A couple of cues that I want to review that I mentioned throughout the program, throughout the class, is I'll say feet hip bone distance apart from side to side. That means your feet are parallel to one another. And the hip bones are the bony protuberances that are in the front of the body, not on the side, but right here. And that's where I want your feet lined up. So the feet are hip bone distance apart from side to side. There's a micro bend in the knee. That means we're not standing on a locked joint. So we don't do military posture. This is where I bring in a little bit of the Qigong practice, is we don't stress out our joints like that. We just a micro bend in the knee, not a deep bend when we're standing, but just take your knees to straight and then let them go. That's where the knees are nice and relaxed and supported. The other thing I often say is zip up your low belly or contact the lower abdominals. So these hip points here that I spoke about, I want you to imagine that you're bringing those two hip points towards each other and the pubic bone and the tailbone towards each other. That's not going to happen. But when your intention is to do that, what happens is you engage all these wonderful low belly muscles that support your lower spine. So what we're doing is we're strengthening abdominals, we're strengthening our core, which help with balance, support, stability, all the things we need as we move through life. So that's a cue I'll often say is connect the low belly. That's what I want you to do. Just get in touch with those low belly muscles. The other thing we don't do a lot of in this class, or really much of it at all, is spinal flexion. That's the typical forward bend with a rounded spine. It's very dangerous for osteoporosis. It can encourage fractures. It becomes a fracture risk for the front of the spine, which is where spinal fractures occur. So I often will take the spine more in extension. That's lengthening the spine and the heart comes forward. So we're actually opening up the front of the spine. We all are on the computer a lot, especially now that we're home more and we're sitting and reading. So we often fall into this kind of forward posture. The head comes a little more forward. So what we want to do, we want to bring everything back into alignment and back into that extension. So those are the premises of everything we're going to do today. So I want you to begin standing with your feet hip bone distance apart. And I'd like you to find the four corners of your feet. That gives you a nice stable base to begin your practice. So think of the bottom of your foot as having four places on it that we're going to contact the floor intentionally. One is the inside of the heel, right under the little toe, under the big toe, and the outside of the heel. And you do that on both feet. And that gives you a nice steady base on which to begin your standing poses. With a micro bend in the knees, make sure your pelvis, which is like a bowl, consider it like a bowl of water. We don't want that water spilling out forward in an anterior pelvic tilt. We don't want it backwards. So if you happen to have, if your body is built with more what they call lordosis, or more curvature in the low back, that means your pelvis is tilted forward. So I want you to use your belly muscles and bring that pelvis so it's the top of the pelvis is parallel to the floor. These are good body mechanics. And on the other hand, if you're in a posterior tilt and you're a little bit like this, then we need to bring the pelvis a little forward and get it into that neutral phase where the water is not spilling forward or back. So I know that's a lot to think about, but we build our pose from the ground up in that way. Very stable, very strong. So standing pose. You're welcome to close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. If you need the support of a chair in front of you, that's fine too. If you're next to a wall and you want to touch the wall for support or stability, that's okay as well. So we're going to do just a brief little body scan, kind of turning inward and recognizing what's going on inside our body this morning. So if you can close your eyes and your balance will allow you to do so, I invite you to do that. So close your eyes and just begin to notice what the internal weather is like for you today. How are you feeling? Is there maybe some anxiety? Is there a little tiredness, restlessness? Just notice what's happening today. And just accept with an open heart and with your breath whatever is happening for this body today. And scanning through your own body in your own way from the top of your head down through the front of the face, the neck, shoulders, the front of the torso, including the heart and the organs, the back of the body, down the arms, the pelvis and hips, the legs, the knees, ankles, and feet. And just notice what's happening for your body today. And I invite you to set an intention for your practice. An intention being what your heart is inclined towards. Another way to look at an intention is, what's your motivation for being here today, to doing this class? Is it to get stronger, to get more balance, more stability, to maybe be in community with others and doing a healthy practice? Whatever it is for you, I invite you to plant that intention right in your heart center. And if your eyes are closed, please gently blink your eyes open. We're just going to start movement with some shoulder shrugs. Bringing the shoulders up towards the ears to the back of the room and down. All the way up, back, and down. There you go. And then go the other direction. So it's kind of late in the morning. Some of you maybe have already been on a walk this morning. You've been up and about, maybe moving your body. So we're not going to do the range of warm-ups that we normally do in my earlier class on Wednesdays. And then let the shoulders come to stillness. And notice how your body feels before we get on to the physical practice. Just notice. We're going to inhale with the palms up, a slight bend in the knees. Inhale and scoop like you're scooping the air in front of you. And come up, straighten the legs. Exhale, bend the knees. and bring the hands back down behind you. So from a side view, it's an inhale, come up, reach up, get into a little extension in the spine. Exhale, very slowly bring the arms back behind you. And continue, do this a few times. And you can look up when your hands are up, and exhale, the arms come behind you. So moving with your breath, inhale up, exhale, arms come down behind you. This time when you inhale up, slowly come up onto your toes, lifting the heels up off the mat. Exhale slowly, like you're moving through water, very slowly bring the heels back down. Inhale, come up on the toes, reach up. This is really good work for the ankles and the lower legs and your balance. Exhale. So this time we're going to inhale, come up on the toes. Stay up, keep breathing. Exhale, slowly bring the arms down as the heels slowly come down. Then inhale up, keep your feet down this time. And exhale into chair pose. So chair pose, you want to make sure you're not dumping into your low back. You want to check your knee position, that your kneecaps are in line with the second toe. They're not going forward of the feet. That puts too much strain on the knees, on the knee joints. So the kneecaps are in line with the second toe. The arm position can be in front of you, or it can be on the side. So we'll do that again. Inhale, come up. Keep the heels down. Exhale. Move with your breath. Inhale up. Exhale to chair pose. Hold chair and continue breathing. Connect those low belly muscles so you don't dump into your low back and you protect your low back. Inhale, come up, hands to prayer position, and exhale down in front of your heart. So we're going to continue this, but we're going to use some of our props if you have them available. So we've got our block and we've got our strap that has a loop in it. So we're going to start with the loop. We're going to step through it. Be really mindful of your balance. Use a chair for support if you need to. And we're going to bring that up by putting on a tight pair of pants. We're going to bring that strap up to the mid-thigh, halfway between the hip joint and the knee joint. So right in the fleshy part of the thigh. And if you have an adjustable strap or you can retie it, then make sure it's really nice and snug. But your legs are still hip bone distance apart from side to side. Then we're going to take our block, or if you have a rolled up towel, something that you can put between the lower legs, between the knee joint and the ankle joint. You never want to put a block here against the knee joint. Right down in the fleshy part of the inner thigh, the inner lower legs. So the midline of the body is what divides the left and right halves of the body. It's the center part of the body. So what we're going to do with the strap and the block, we're going to do adduction, where we bring, excuse me, we bring the pressure towards the midline of the body. Adding, adduction is coming toward the midline. And we're going to abduct, abduction, in taking the body, taking it outward. So it becomes a very dynamic isometric exercise. We're going to adduct the block and the lower legs down here. We're going to squeeze our legs into the block. And at the same time, we're going to very dynamically abduct the upper thigh. We're taking the thighs outward. So we're taking the lower legs inward and the upper thighs outward. We have a slight bend in the knee. We can actually come into chair pose like this. Check your kneecaps that they're not forward of your feet. The kneecaps are in line with the second toe. You're not dumping into your low back. So if you need to slightly tilt the pelvis a little bit so you flatten out the low back, it should just have that natural curve to it. Shouldn't be flat, shouldn't be overextended. Just a nice relaxed curve. Adduct the lower legs, abduct the upper thighs. This is a very dynamic exercise. Your hands and arms can go wherever they want. Inhale, stand up, and just take a breath or two just to release before we do a second set. It's a very, very great exercise for your legs and for your bones. Inhale, come back into chair pose. Adduct the lower legs. Squeeze that block, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Abduct the upper thighs. So we're very dynamically, we are wrapping those muscles around the bone. We're putting that bone under pressure, and that's what builds more bone. Can you feel that? Stay very stable in your feet. Your feet are glued to the ground. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, back into chair pose. Squeeze the block, pull the strap. Great. Don't dump into your low back, keep breathing. You can move your arms around. Inhale, slowly rise up. Take your block away. And very gently, carefully, you can make your belt a little bit bigger and step out of your belt. And just keep your belt fairly handy. We're going to be using it again soon, and your block as well. But just have them off your mat so there's the area around your feet is clear. So coming back into your standing pose, you can choose, we're preparing for Trikonasana out of mountain pose. So mountain pose is a standing pose in yoga. You choose where you want your feet to be. Classically, the feet are together, and it's a very, very rigid pose. I like to bring a little softness to it and a little more of a qigong stance. So I feel stable when my feet are a little wider apart than just close together. So have your feet where you feel the most stable. Feel the bottom of your feet. Feel those four corners of your feet. And that's something you can reset again and again. Inside of the heel, pad under the little toe, big toe, outside of the heel. So you do that with both feet. Micro bend in your knees. The arms are long. Feel like you're reaching for the floor. What that does is it helps bring your shoulders down because they're always up here. So if we reach for the floor intentionally, those shoulders just come nice and down. The shoulder blades are coming down your back. You're creating more space between your earlobe and the top of your shoulder. Then energetically feeling very strong and very stable, like the bottom of your legs are just the roots of a tree standing, ready to keep you stable through wind and storms. Very stable pose. Now we're going to take this stability, and I'm going to try and do this with you looking at me. So shift your weight. Let your weight come down towards the earth. Shift your weight under the earth to the right side so that the right leg gets very heavy and the left leg gets very, very light, or what we call in Qigong, And in martial arts, the left leg is empty. The right leg is full. The right leg becomes the standing leg. Bring the toes of your left foot to the ankle of the standing leg to prepare for tree pose. This is also where your chair might come in handy. There are a couple variations. If tree pose is really new for you, you can set your foot up on a chair and come into tree pose, whatever works for you. If tree pose is not so new to you, but maybe balance is an issue, you can use the back of your chair or a wall, if you're next to a wall, and just lightly hang on to it for balance. So the toes of your left foot are on the floor. You're on your standing leg, and bring your arms up to prayer position in front of the heart. Zip up that low belly so you're connected with your core muscles. And if this works for you, you might lift your toes up off the floor and then set them down, and lift them up and set them down. If tree pose is something you practice often and you want to set your foot here or even up here, that's up to you. It's whatever suits your practice. You never want to set your foot on the inside of the knee joint. That can be very dangerous. So you never put pressure here. Your foot is either above it or below it. But for this practice today, we can just have the foot on the floor, the toes on the floor, and maybe reach up high, let your tree grow really tall, reach for the sky, and practice just lifting those toes up, testing your balance. Good. And maybe set the toes down and pull them up and set them down. It's really important to have a fixed point of your gaze across the room or around horizon level. Or if you're looking at the screen, try and find something that's not moving. That really helps with the balance. And go ahead and set that foot down. And put the arms down and just notice how the body feels. Notice if the two sides feel just a little bit different. Now take your weight so that it's even on both feet. You feel stable. You've got a micro bend in your knees. Shift the weight under the earth to your left side this time. So the left leg becomes very full. The right foot becomes very empty. And then very gently place the toes and the bottom of the right foot on the left ankle. And again here, if this is your practice to have the leg higher up, that's fine. You do what's in your practice. If you're just starting this or you haven't done it for a while, this is a very safe place to begin. Or have your foot up on a chair, like I showed on the other side. Then the arms come to prayer position in front of the heart. And when you're ready, maybe grow your tree really tall, reach for the sky, zip up that low belly, lift up the toes and set them down. Lift them up, maybe keep them up or set them down. Lift up, reach up, don't let your body collapse in this pose. Get really long, reaching upwards and rooting downwards. So we're getting axial extension in the body. What this does is it helps stretch the fascia tissue. Fascia covers all of our muscles from head to toe. It's like an internal wetsuit. So when we reach and stretch the body in both directions like this, we're actually moving the fluid in our fascia tissue, which is very healthy to do. And then very gently release. Coming out of that, standing, maybe closing the eyes, and notice how the body feels. Notice what your breath is doing. The longer and slower we can breathe, the more the body calms down naturally. It taps into our parasympathetic nervous system. It takes us out of the fight and flight mode. So inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your nose, and especially as we move through more difficult poses, really connect with your breath. I invite you to do that and notice what's happening in the body when you do so. So we're going to prepare for Warrior Two pose. So come to the one end of your mat, face the other end of your mat. Take a giant step forward. I'm stepping forward with my right leg. And the forward foot is pointing to the top of the mat. The back foot is actually, the toes are pointing to the side of your mat, the front side of your mat. So there's a nice wide angle here. The front, the heel of the front foot, if I were to draw a line to the back foot, it would come right to the arch of the back foot. So that's where you want to be. So line your feet up so they're perpendicular in that way. The forward heel is in line with the back arch. Inhale, arms out to the side at shoulder height. Exhale, bend into that front knee. The knee should be directly over the ankle. Again, check your kneecap that it's in line with the second toe. The knee should not be forward. It's just lined up right over the ankle joint. And then exhale, come back. Inhale, bend into that front knee. Exhale, come back. Inhale, arms out. And when your arms are out like this, palms down to ground, palms up to uplift. You can do this in meditation posture too. You can sit with your palms up, and it's a very uplifting posture, or down on your thighs for a very grounding feeling. So we do that in Warrior Two as well. This time, inhale, come up, arms up together over your head. Exhale, bend into that forward knee. Inhale, straighten. Exhale into the forward knee and stay there. Feel the energy that goes right across the upper body. Feel that energy come out out the fingers towards either side of the room. Feel really strong in your feet. I'm going to lower my hands, but you keep your arms up in Warrior Two. I want you to feel like the inside of your thighs are rolling outwards. Zip up that low belly, keep those abdominals working. This is a very vigorous pose. The more vigor you can put in a pose like this, the more support and strength it's going to give to your bones. This is a really dynamic pose. Your gaze is over the forward hand, the middle finger of the forward hand, whether your palms are up or if they're down. Continue to breathe. And inhale, drop the hands, straighten the legs. Inhale again here, bend the forward knee. Drop the forward hand onto the thigh, flip the back palm up. And if it's possible, rest your forearm on your forward thigh and bring that back hand up into extended side angle. If this is too far, then come up here. Raise it up. What I don't want is for your body to be going forward. So you have to do your adjustment. I'm not there to move you. I wish I was. But if this is where you go, or even up a little higher, that's where you go. This is where we want to work towards. And eventually the hand is on the floor or on a block. And we might not get there for a while, and that's okay. So wherever you are, you self-adjust so your body is not going forward. You've got this nice long line of energy going down one side of the body. You're opening up the ribs, the intercostal muscles. Breathe into that. It's harder to breathe here, so breathe more. In through the nose and out through the nose. Inhale, come back to warrior two. Exhale, come into exalted warrior. So this front thigh is probably talking to you. It's probably saying, when are you going to get me out of this? Reach up with the top hand, the back hand rests on the thigh. Again, we're opening up the side body, breathing into those intercostal muscles, giving more space to the lungs and the diaphragm. Reach up. Exhale, come back to warrior two. Pause and straighten that leg. Give your leg a little rest. Good. Inhale, come back to warrior two. We're just going to flow through this for a little bit. Inhale here, exhale into extended side angle. Inhale back to warrior two. Exhale, exalted warrior. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, move with your breath. Exhale. Come back to warrior two. Straighten the front leg. Give them a rub. That front thighs worked really hard. Now we get to do side B. So the leg that was forward is now the leg that the toes are going to point to the side of your mat. The forward leg is that now the other leg, the toes are pointing towards the front of the mat. The heel of the forward leg is directly in line with the middle of the arch of the back foot. Inhale, arms out. Exhale, bend into that front knee. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale into warrior two and hold. Remember, palms down to ground, palms up to uplift. The gaze is over the middle finger of the forward hand. Come into extended side angle on this side. Heart goes towards the sky. If you need to come here and raise the torso up a little bit, that's fine. We don't want to pull our body forward. This is a very open pose, very dynamic through the side of the body. Breathing into those side ribs. In through the nose and out through the nose. The gaze is either forward or it can be at your top hand, whatever works for you. Inhale, come back to warrior two. Exhale into exalted warrior. Reach up with the top hand. The back arm comes around the back thigh. We're pressing down in our feet. Press down on the little toe side of the back foot and the big toe side of the front foot. Feel like the thigh muscles are rolling outwards, really wrapped around those femur bones, strengthening the femur. And come back to warrior two. Extended side angle. And let's flow it a little bit with your breath. Just notice what you notice in the body. Is the front thigh getting as tired as the other leg did? Or perhaps you're a little stronger on this side. And come back to warrior two. Straighten the front leg and walk your legs in. Maybe soft fist like you're holding a baby bird. And just lightly tap the thighs. And when I bend forward, I'm hinging at the thigh crease here. I'm not rounding my back. So take your soft fist and around the kidney area, just some nice taps. Good. Many of these poses are part of Dr. Fishman's 12 poses for osteoporosis. We're not going to get through all 12, but there's a progression of the different poses for osteoporosis. But all of these poses we do today are very osteoporosis safe and are part of the program and part of his warm-ups. So we're going to bring ourselves down to the floor. I'm not going to change my computer because I think you'll be able to see me. So coming down on the mat, having the block and the strap handy. If you have bone disease, you don't want to come down and bend your spine. So what I suggest is you come down to your knees, come down to like hands and knees, onto your hip, extend your bottom arm out and log roll onto your back. That's a safe way to get down on the mat. So once again, feet are hip bone distance apart from side to side. If you need support, you know what? We need support for our backs. Take your blanket, sorry, you didn't do this sooner. Take your blanket just for a little extra support for the spine when we lie down. And I often have people in my class bring a little hand towel that they can roll up to put behind their neck if you feel that you need the neck support. We also have another little towel we can use for support of the low spine. But today I'm not going to use this because we're going to go into bridge pose. So have your strap and your block handy where they're reachable. So you want your bottom, if you've got the blanket on your spine, just supporting your spine, you want your bottom off the blanket, and that should be on the mat. So your spine and even your head can be on the blanket, that's fine, but it just gives the shoulders and the spine a little extra support. So we're going to prepare for bridge pose. But first, take your feet wide, actually. Take your feet as wide as your mat. So the edges of your feet line up with the edges of your mat. And bring your arms, if they can go into a wide position, pointing to the corners of your room, like lined up with the corners of your mat. If that's not possible because tight shoulders, you just take your arms wherever they go, where they're not floating in space. We want everything on the floor connected. Inhale here, drop your right knee towards your left ankle. The left knee points to the ceiling. So we're getting a nice stretch through the right side of the body. The right knee does not have to go all the way to the floor. And then reach with your right hand towards the corner of the room. Reach through this axillary area again into the side ribs and across the hip flexor. Since we're sitting more, this is a really nice stretch for the hip flexors and for the psoas. And then on an inhale, come back to center. Pause for a few breaths. Inhale deeply here. Exhale, bring your left knee towards your right ankle, keeping the right knee pointed towards the ceiling, and reaching with your left hand towards the corner of your room, and feel the opening in the left axillary area and the left side ribs. all the way down through the psoas and the hip flexor area of the left hips. Reach, 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 breathe. Inhale, come back to center, bring the arms down to your side. And now we're going to prepare for bridge pose. So make sure your bottom is on the mat. I'm a little crooked here. Get your strap, and you can either put, when we lift our hips up in bridge pose, you can either have your arms like this, which will be under you, but pointed towards your feet, or you can just grab your strap, belt, or bathrobe tie and just pull this way. So have it handy. Set your feet hip bone distance apart from side to side. The back of your heel should be about 5 or 6 inches from your glutes. Zip up the low belly. Press down with your feet. Inhale, lift the hips up. Grab your strap and pull outwards, much like we did with the abduction of the upper thigh with the strap around the upper thigh. So we want to engage those arm muscles a lot. Press down with your triceps, lift up your hips with each breath. Tuck your shoulders under you like wings. Inhale deeply here. Exhale, slowly lower. You can come right down onto your strap if you need to, and just relax the grip on your strap. Pause for a breath. If your knees have a tendency to fall towards one another, take your block and put it between your thighs. We don't want the knees to come towards one another in this exercise. So inhale here, zip up that low belly, press down with your feet, and lift the hips up. Tuck your shoulder blades under you like wings. Pull on your strap. Pull, pull, pull. Pressing the thighs together on the block if you're using one. Breathe. So what we're doing here is we're actually putting the bones under some pressure. We're using our muscles and we're using gravity, the two forces that make changes in the bones. Pull, pull, pull. Release the strap. Raise the arms towards the ceiling, fingers towards the ceiling, and very gently bring the spine down. Set the block aside if you're using one. Bring the knees together. What we need to do after bridge pose is reset the low back. The SI joints of the low back can get constricted when we do back bend type poses. So this is a very nice way to release that very safely. So the knees are together for a few breaths. Then grab hold of your right knee, bring it towards your chest, and lengthen out the left leg. Flex the ankle, spread the toes of the left leg. Hug this right knee into your chest or towards the right armpit. And again, really lengthen in two directions here. This is another axial extension. Breathe, breathe into the stretch. Inhale deeply here. On an exhale, change legs. So bring your left knee towards your left armpit. Relax that left foot. You can do some ankle circles if that feels good. Get long and strong in that right leg. Flex the ankle, spread the toes. Breathe. And release, bring both knees to your chest and give yourself a hug, rock side to side. Good. So just a gentle little twist and we'll go into our resting pose, Shavasana. So arms out to your side, knees together. Scoot your hips, one little scoot to the right. Bring your knees to your chest and let the knees come over to the left side of the mat as your head goes to the right. This is just a very nice little gentle twist. If your legs don't want to go all the way to the floor, maybe put a block or a blanket under them for support. We don't want any floating parts here. And then inhale, bring the knees back to center. One little scoot of the hips to the left side of the mat. Bring the knees in and over to the right side of the mat, letting the head go left. Breathing into any areas that might feel tight or sticky. Again, supporting the legs if they're floating. Just stick a little support under there. And then bring the legs back to center. Give yourself a hug. And we're just going to come into Shavasana for only a few minutes. I apologize, we kind of ran out of time with introductions and such today. Just lengthen out your body, get comfortable. Maybe a little more support for your head. If you have a bolster and you want to place it under your thighs or under the knees or the lower legs, that's always nice. If you don't have high blood pressure and you want to put your legs up on a chair or up on a wall, that's also a very, very nice resting pose. I'm going to sit up, but I want the class to be in Shavasana, final rest, for just a few moments. I will ring the bell 3 times to get us out of Shavasana after a few moments. So I invite you to integrate the postures we've done into your body and relax. Just let yourself sink into the support beneath you. Close your eyes. Maybe reconnect with the intention you set in the beginning of class. Reflect on your practice and feel into your body. Which parts of your body might feel more alive right now? While you're resting, I wanted to share a poem with you by Donna Falls, who is a wonderful poet and writes a lot about poems that have to do with meditation and yoga. This one's called Just Be. Finally, I am slowing down. After weeks of doing, I have a moment to just be. Serenity must be chosen. The wave of relaxation washing through me, not by chance, but by choice. I consciously give myself over to the tide of peace that easily receives the burdens I release. Very gently coming back. Circle your wrists or your ankles. Bring your knees into your chest. Give yourself a hug. Rock side to side. That feels good. And from that position, raise your left arm up overhead. And then raise your right arm up overhead. Roll onto your right side. So you're like this. And gently push yourself up to a seated position, keeping the spine straight. And we'll just sit for a moment. Once you get up, inhale your arms up, reach up, hands to prayer position in front of the chest. I want to take this opportunity to thank Sarah and Robert for letting us have this time on their Zoom and part of their Strong Talks series. I want to thank you all for attending this class. May it be of benefit to you in many ways and to all beings that we encounter throughout our day. If you can find some opening and some peace. And may you all stay safe and well during this time that we're at home. And may I see you again. Thank you for your practice today. Namaste.
Thank you so much, Karen.
Thank you, Karen. I got it.
That was wonderful.
Thank you, Karen. I
Thank
hope we
you.
can do it again on Mondays. This was great.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Awesome. We need it more than once a week.
Yeah. I was missing it. I was missing it. I would love it to be twice.
Me too. Me too.
It just
I
may
got
be the
it
two.
now.
Well, we'll have class on Wednesday at